from the campus of Westfield State University. This is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I don't know. Is it me or is it like really dry out?
It is dry. I don't know. I woke up in the middle of the night.
Dry.
Yeah, I woke up in the middle of the night, and my nose was all stuffed up, and I was fine this morning, and it didn't feel like I was getting sick. It just kind of felt like weird, as you said, kind of like the air was weird in the room.
I've been having trouble sleeping this week. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, me too. I'm going on very little sleep this week.
Yes.
Yeah, not a good week for sleeping. Yeah, I don't know what's going on out there. It's chilly out there too this morning.
Yeah, like 34 degrees,
yeah.
I think is what
Although,
it said.
really, we can't complain. It's mid-January. We haven't had any kind of a deep freeze at all. I
don't jinx us.
Yeah, I know. Knock on wood. I know. So far, so good. And, I'm sure JPEG Luke is not happy that we have had a definite lack of snow.
Well, according to Joe Didi, they've been making snow at night because it's been cold enough at night to make snow up at Butternut.
Okay.
So they've been able to open because they have enough snow to make overnight because it's been cold overnight.
Yeah. Good.
So, but he's on his way to Florida.
Who is?
Joe Didi.
Oh, Joe is. Oh, fun.
He bought a beater car and he's driving to Florida.
Get out of
here. I'm visiting
here.
family on the way. He says he bought a Toyota or something. He says,
oh my gosh, that's
it's so expensive to rent a car. It's cheaper to buy one.
Oh my God, he bought an old car and I'll just drive it down to Florida.
Drive to Florida. I think he might fly back and leave it down there.
Joe is. He just cracks me up.
Yeah.
He definitely is a guy that thinks outside of the box.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
I would never in a million years think to do that. What a great idea.
He runs drag cars, right?
I knew he had kind of dabbled in that. Yeah, I didn't really know.
Oh, no, more than dabbled.
Okay. All right.
He bought a guy that won national championships. He bought his former car.
Wow.
And he restored it over the last 2 years of COVID.
Okay.
And he ran it like a couple of months ago up in Lebanon Valley, New York. And he said it was freaking cool. Is what he said.
How cool is it? Now, does he actually do the work himself on the car? Or does he have it done?
Or
does he kind of both? Yeah.
Both.
Okay.
Stuff that he can't handle, he
okay.
has other people do. But
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Also, apparently, Doug Moglen, one of the other selectmen out in Southwick, does drag races cars too.
Oh, well, there you go.
There's stuff about Joe that nobody knows, like the public side of Joe.
Yes.
And then I'm friends with him on Facebook, so I see the private side of Joe sometimes, and it's hilarious.
Yeah. Oh wow, he's such a great guy.
Yeah, so he's he's visiting family on his way down there. I think he's in South Carolina last time I saw.
Nice, really good.
He keeps
Excellent.
posting updates.
Well, you know what? That's fun though. That's really great. I love that.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yep. And so there's all kinds of craziness going on.
Yeah. Now, Pete, I wasn't here last week because I'm trying to get my personal life together, which is I'm having.
You got to spend some time on it.
I'm having mixed success with that, but that's a topic for another day. But so I didn't have a chance to ask you, did you do anything special for New Year's, or how was your New Year's, or?
So I just kind of hung out at my girlfriend's house, but
Okay.
I also, we got short on people, so at Mount Holyoke, so instead of working 7 to 3 on New Year's Eve, I ended up working 7 to 7 because my boss ended up working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Wow.
So I went down there and hung out with the cat, the dog, and my girlfriend.
There you go.
And they stayed by my side all night when I slept on the couch.
Oh man, you know what? There's something to be said for that though, Pete. Just kind of.
Oh yeah,
chilling
pet
out.
therapy, yeah.
Yeah.
Pet
oh
therapy,
my gosh, absolutely.
girlfriend
Pets.
therapy, yeah. Spending time was because I've been alone a lot, so
Yes.
it was like okay,
Yeah.
I was good with that.
Now, when you're at Mount Holyoke, Pete, are you there by yourself, or are there other dispatch people?
No,
around,
you're by
or
yourself.
You're by yourself.
Yep, and most of the time with the officers, there's only 1 or 2 officers working, so you're by yourself in the building too.
Yeah. Yep.
If you got to run to the bathroom, I bought a little radio that I had, and the chief saw it one day, and he goes, "What's that?" I says, "Well, I can listen to our channel, and I can listen to Fire South Hadley District 2, which we also dispatch for."
Oh, okay.
And he goes, "How much are those?" Like, well, I don't know, $120. He goes, "Oh my God, buy some of those."
Yeah, exactly. We
For
need
your fellow
some of
dispatchers.
those. Yeah.
So that's how we go to the bathroom.
Yep. Yeah.
This is
Wow.
the phone, you can always call them back.
Yes.
But yeah, you got to monitor the radio. So yeah, that's yeah.
Wow. Now, did you work this past weekend too? I'm
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
work
getting my
every weekend.
weekends mixed up because New
Yeah,
Year's
no,
was a week ago. Yeah.
I generally work every weekend, but they ask the dispatchers which holiday they want to work. So I usually do Christmas, and I
Okay.
work 16 hours on Christmas.
I
so.
know you did. I feel
Right.
like you work every holiday, Pete.
Well, in some form or another, like
right.
New
I
Year's
mean-
Day, I came in to work to do 2 hours of Michael's show, and then I left.
Yeah.
I drove up to New York State and photographed some old GG1 locomotives, electric locomotives,
Oh.
and they're abandoned. And I'm trying to find out, do a documentary on why they're abandoned.
How did you even come across this? Like, how
Somebody
would you even know
did
that?
a crappy video on it, and I started investigating to find out where they were. And they're about 2 hours away. So New Year's Day, I walked out the door here at like 10 o'clock and said, "You know what? The weather's beautiful." Mm-hmm. I said, "I'm going to go for a drive."
Great. And now, how did you? Always curious about this, but how? Like you said, somebody posted something. So how did you see that? How did you come by that?
I just stumbled across it.
Okay.
Like I
Like wandering.
YouTube suggests, if you're into train
Oh,
videos,
okay.
YouTube sometimes suggests stuff like that, or
Yeah.
you scroll down a little bit and you just find it. I happened to
Okay.
find it one year while I was waiting for shows to render. I was searching YouTube and I found it.
So where was it in New York, Pete?
It's in a place called Cooperstown Junction.
Okay. Is that anywhere close to Cooperstown?
It's
or
10
not
miles
so-
south of
Okay.
it. Yeah.
All right.
It's where the line that went up to Cooperstown joined the main line.
Okay.
So they call it Cooperstown Junction.
And so these are just railroad cars that are just
They're
hanging
railroad-
out on the track. Are they actually on the track?
Well, there was an
Or
old
off the track?
turnout. There was an old turnout
Oh,
to
gotcha,
the
okay.
Cooperstown what used to be the Delaware and Hudson Railroad.
Okay.
And there was a turnout from the main line there
Mm-hmm.
where they joined up, so you could turn an engine around.
Okay. Yeah.
So the main line for the Cooperstown Railroad still joins Norfolk Southern there, but the turnout still listed as Delaware and Hudson, which has been defunct for 40 years,
Okay.
and that's where they're sitting.
And that's where they're parked, kind of like.
And there's a plaque on one of them from the year 2000 that's saying that they
Really?
were going to restore it, but
Okay.
that was 23 years ago.
Well, no. What kind of cars are they, Pete? Are they cargo
No, this
or
is
passenger? or-
locomotives.
Oh, okay.
They're electric
Wow.
locomotives called the model GG1,
Okay.
and they're dual sided, so they have cabs facing both ways.
Wow.
And there's a passenger car there that's been vandalized, and the locomotives have now been vandalized to a certain extent. And
That's sad.
one of my when I looked it up, is owned by the Henry Ford Transportation Museum.
Okay.
But
they haven't
it's
done anything.
sitting there.
Yeah.
It's sitting there. So
Wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and I want to really dig into it and do a documentary on it.
You would think that the town of Cooperstown Junction would know. Or
No, not
Not so
always.
much? Yeah.
Not
Oh, okay.
always. But
All
I
right.
I don't know if it's on private property. I don't know who owns the rail
Yeah.
line. I
Yep.
don't know who. I mean, I went on the private property. Nobody bothered me because they saw me with a honking camera, and
yeah.
you know,
Right.
I wasn't up to
Yeah.
no good, and it was broad
Right.
daylight.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to find out who did this or
Yeah.
who owns it, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Then it makes you wonder, Pete, like how many other situations like this are there throughout the country? How many?
I'm sure there's more than a few.
I would think so too.
I'm sure there's more than a few,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I posted on my Facebook page, and a lot of people are interested into what we got
Yeah,
going
what
on
happened?
there.
I think trains are really fascinating.
Me too. That's why I drove out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I think that's great. My brother's done a lot of travel. My brother Dave, who lives down in Tennessee, and he's a kind of an outdoorsy, get your hands dirty kind of guy. And he's done that is like one of his preferred modes of transportation.
Yeah, me too.
He's done trips, across states and train travel and so forth. He's really kind of into that, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
Yep, me too. I'm all into that, and I mean, you guys have known that. I've been into that for a long
yeah.
time, but yeah. So we'll see what happens, and
Okay.
I'm trying to figure it out.
You're a man of many interests, Pete. We've got the whole space thing going on. We have the train thing going on. We have meteorology going on. That's really kind of interesting. Have you had those interests like since you were a kid, or did
Yeah.
those develop sort of later in life?
No, that's just always been. That's
Yeah.
been since I was a kid.
Yeah,
That's something I've always been interested in. So
very
for
cool.
me, that kind of stuff is fun.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
when we did stuff up at the hangar early on in the aeronautics program and stuff like that, I'm always into that stuff.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, speaking of the hangar and aeronautics, so now that Christmas is over and I don't have to worry about my husband listening in and learning what his big Christmas present was. So, we like to give each other what we call experiential Christmas gifts. We started doing that several years ago about, so maybe tickets to a show or a concert or, a bed and breakfast or something like that. So this year, my gift was, Gary's gift to me was, he wants to do a weekend at Mystic. He said he has never been to Mystic Seaport, Connecticut.
Seriously?
I was like, really? I
haven't
said,
been since I was a kid.
I
but-
said, I thought we went together. And he said, no. He said, I have never been there. It's been a long time since I've been there. And I can't remember. I've been there a couple times, but I think I had a cousin who lived down in that area. So as I'm recollecting, I think that's when I went. I think I went with my cousin Carol. But anyway, so that was that. And my gift to Gary was this. I was just so proud of this gift. So Gary and I went to the Noble Ball back in November. We were guests of Ron Bryant, and which was really fun. And of course, you see a zillion people that you know, and you reconnect. And so one person that Gary and I ran into and spent a ton of time talking to was Joe Mitchell, the former city advancement officer under Mayor Knappich.
Yep.
And I absolutely love Joe. And his wife, Teresa, was at some other function, so I think they had to divide and conquer. So Joe was by himself. So that was really great for us because we got to monopolize his time for a long time during the cocktail hour. Well, anyway, Joe flies. He was in the military and he was in the Air Force, so he flies. So, I don't know, we got to talking about that. And so, anyway, couple days later, I was thinking, all right, what am I going to do for Gary this year for Christmas for his big, fun, experiential gift? And then I thought, how about a plane ride with Joe Mitchell? So I texted Joe and I said, I know you fly. Would that be something that we could do? Well, Joe was like all over it because I explained to him, like Gary and I give each other these gifts every year. And I thought this would be so cool because Gary had a zillion questions when we were talking to Joe about his flying and his background and, back in the day and all this other stuff. So anyway, that is Gary's experiential gift. It is a plane ride, an aerial view of the Pioneer Valley. I mean, Joe was just like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? I said, just getting up and like flying over this whole area. And so I said to Joe, I don't know how big the plane is. Would it be, could it be the three of us and could Teresa come? And Joe sent me a text back and he said, Tino, it's a 6-passenger. He said it's basically like a Dodge minivan with wings.
Okay.
So he said. So I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. So so we're gonna do it in the spring when it gets a little bit.
Fly somewhere for dinner.
We could. Yep, we could. I mean, he was just like, do you want to fly out to Block Island? Do you want to fly out
that'd be
someplace and
fun.
go skiing? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do? I was like, oh man, just getting up in the air and I think it'll just be so fun. So that
Block
was
Island would
is
be
the
nice
big-
because then you can go to a restaurant for Block Island and come back.
Yeah, well, we could do that. That offer's on the table. So
By the way, Mega
We'll see.
Millions is climbing to $1.35 billion.
I didn't realize that. You know what? I heard
Drawing was
a
last
couple.
night and nobody won.
That's
according
what it
to
was.
CNN.
Okay, all right, okay. Because I was going to say, I knew I
it
heard
looked
it
like
on the news yesterday or the day before that it was
The numbers look like they were birthdays. Like, let's see, what were the numbers? I saw them. They looked like they were birthdays. It was like 13 something. So I was like, wow, okay, that was crazy.
So and nobody won, huh?
Apparently, nobody won.
Well, nobody's claimed it anyway.
No, nobody won. They know.
They
if
do
there's a
know.
winning
Oh,
ticket,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
So the numbers were 7, 13, 14, 15, 18, and the mega ball was 9. So those were like, I was like, someone's going to win. Those are birthdays.
Yeah. Yep.
Those are all within the birthday range. Somebody's going to win, and nobody picked that combination.
Those are that's a lot of numbers of combination to pick.
Well, I think your odds are 1 in 299 million.
Yeah, it sounds about
That's
right.
how many combinations there are.
That definitely sounds about right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right. Well,
you still have a chance to win.
yes, and you know,
If I win, I quit. I'll give the keys to Kenny and go start my production company down to
there
Florida.
it is. Is that what you would do?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'd photograph rockets. Yes, rockets, planes. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I already have my solar boat picked out to photograph off
Now, where
water.
in Florida? Where would you want to be?
I buy on the water in Titusville with a view of the pads, or somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I have. Oh, I've got.
You got it all planned out.
Oh yes, God, yes, I have plans.
Well, you know, we got an email from.
I also have a condo picked out in down in South Padre Island with a facing of the Starship pad. So
Okay.
on the 12th floor. Yeah. I have all kinds of stuff picked out.
You absolutely do. A man with a plan.
Yeah, I know what I want to do.
Well, we got an email yesterday from the personnel office, just reminding all of us that if anyone is planning on retiring over the next year, you'll love this, Pete. So
if you said you retire, there would be panic.
Well, here's the thing that's so fun. So here is the thing that's so hysterical.
Panic.
So the chairman of the COA board, Jim Liptak, comes, drops in on the senior center on Friday afternoon, like later in the afternoon. And my front desk person said, the Jim is here and he wanted to talk to you. And I said, wow, Friday afternoon, this late, So, of course, I go out there, and he looked very worried. And I said to him, Jim, is everything okay? And he said, well, I was just at a couple of subcommittee meetings he's on the board for the Highland Valley Elder Services organization. He's on the board and then is also chair of our board. So I knew he had a couple of committee meetings on Friday afternoon. So he stopped at the senior center after his committee meetings because he said one of the other board members from Highland Valley, not from Westfield, because we only have one rep from Westfield, so from some other town, said something to Jim about my retiring. And Jim said, well, what do you mean? Well, Tina's retiring. So Jim shows up on the doorstep saying,
what?
Saying, are you retiring? I said, well, not that I know of, but who should I ask? Because clearly someone else knows something that I don't know. And and Jim was like, because Jim said he said to this woman, he goes, I don't know anything about this. Oh, well, yes. And so Jim came to check it out. So I'm here to tell you that I am not retiring, even though people keep asking me if I am. I don't know whether it was because I turned 65 this year and people assume. I don't know what it is.
Are you going to
anyway,
do with yourself?
not retiring. But so I said to Jim, I said, well, if you could just have this woman call me at some point so she can, just give me the details and let me know when I'm supposed to be doing this and what the plan is. That'd be great because I like to be a woman with a plan. So we were really laughing about that. But poor Jim was busy having a heart attack. But yeah, so we got this thing from personnel reminding us that if anybody's going to be retired, which they do every year, we always get it this year. It's like, if you're planning to do that, we need some notice. So I sent an email out to all my full-time staff, all my benefited staff, and said, all right, if anybody's planning to retire, fess up, let me know. Speak now or hold your peace until next year. So far, we'll see. I don't think I have any takers right now. I don't know of anybody we all knew last year Karen Fannion was going to retire, and we knew when Mark Crissati. So I don't think there's anybody. I don't think there's anybody left that's been there a long time. Is there? I can't think of anybody who would be.
Fran Kane, maybe.
That's about the only person that I can think of, but he hasn't. I haven't heard anything. Yet. But I mean, I'm thinking of like department heads. I mean, the most of the other department heads are younger and
It's kind of cycled
newer.
through, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of right. It's kind of cycled through. You know who I started getting? I started getting mail at the senior center. This is the weirdest thing ever, for Denise Carey. City of Westfield, Denise. I'm like, Denise Carey was one of the first people who retired when I first started. I mean, Denise has been
parking
retired
clerk,
for
years.
for more than 10 years. And I'm like, what? And this is like out of the blue. It's coming to the senior center. Don't know why. But anyway. All right. So listen, let's do, we haven't done any birthdays or anything. So we'll do that in a minute. But, it's a new year. So I always like to play my Neil Sedaka song, Calendar Girl. That's like in honor of the New Year calendar theme. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
I love my calendar girl. Yeah, sweet calendar girl. I love my calendar girl. Each and every day of the year. January, you start the year off fine. February, you're my little Valentine. March, I'm gonna march you down the aisle. April, you're the Easter bunny when you smile. Yeah, my heart's in a whirl. I love my little calendar girl every day. Every day of the year. Maybe if I ask your dad and mom, they let me take you to the junior prom. Like a firecracker, I'm aglow. When you're on the beach, you steal the show. Yeah, my heart's in a whirl. I love my little calendar girl every day. Every day of the year. That you belong to me. December, you're the present beneath my Christmas tree. Yeah, my heart's in a whirl. I love my little calendar girl every day of the year. I love my calendar girl. Yeah, sweet calendar girl.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at Rockies.com.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:23. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
All right, so let's do a couple of birthdays. Today is January 11th, so I thought this one was really kind of interesting. It is the birthday of the late Lula Mae Hardaway. She is a songwriter born on this day in 1930 in Eufaula, Alabama. and she died May 31st, 2006, at the age of 76. Not merely the mother of Motown immortal Stevie Wonder, Lula Mae Hardaway was also his songwriting collaborator on some of the most enduring hits of the 1960s. Hardaway was the product of a sharecropping family. She moved to Chicago in the months following World War II and landed a factory job. There, Lula Mae Hardaway married an older man who abused her and forced her into prostitution. She eventually saved enough money to escape to Michigan, where she gave birth to her third son, Steve Land, in 1950. The child was born prematurely and placed in an incubator where excessive oxygen levels resulted in his permanent blindness. So now we know how Stevie Wonder went blind. When the family relocated to Detroit 3 years later, Hardaway feared for the boy's safety and insisted he remain indoors at virtually all times. With little to occupy his time, Steveland began banging on pots and pans in emulation of the rhythms that he heard on the radio. And in quick succession, he mastered the harmonica, the piano, and the drums. After joining the local church choir, Steveland's local renown as a child prodigy grew. And in 1962, Motown Records owner Berry Gordy renamed his new protege Little Stevie Wonder. While Lula Mae Hardaway later received songwriting credits on smashes including I Was Made to Love Her and Signed, Sealed, Delivered, I'm Yours, it is difficult to gauge the extent of her creative contributions to Wonder's career. Nevertheless, when his masterpiece Inner Visions earned the Grammy Award for Album of the Year in 1973, Stevie Wonder refused to accept the honor unless his mother, Lula Mae Hardaway, accompanied him to the podium where he declared, "Her strength has led us to this place." So happy birthday to the late Lula Mae Hardaway. And I just thought it was interesting that she wrote some of Stevie Wonder's most famous songs. Thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Thought I'd share that. Okay, we'll do one more birthday. It is the birthday of singer, actress, the late Naomi Judd, who just died last year. 2022 at the age of 76. Born on this day in 1946 in Ashland, Kentucky. In 1980, Naomi Judd and her daughter Winona formed the duo known as the Judds. The successful country music act won 5 Grammy Awards and 9 Country Music Association Awards. The Judds stopped performing as a duet in 1991 after Naomi was diagnosed with hepatitis. While Winona continued to perform as a solo artist, she occasionally reunited with her mother for tours as the Judds. For many years, Naomi struggled with depression, accompanied by anxiety, panic attacks, and suicidal thoughts. The medications prescribed to her, including lithium, produced side effects including facial edema and tremors, which caused her further emotional distress. She died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound on April 30th, 2022, the day before she and Winona were inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. So happy birthday to the late Naomi Judd. I knew there was a story behind that, but I honestly had forgotten what that story was.
Yep.
I knew she didn't just die in a car accident or something like that. Okay, so let me tell you about what's going to happen later on this hour. I hope, fingers crossed. So I was supposed to have this morning, another person that I ran into, by the way, at the Noble Ball was former Mayor Dan Knappich. So we had a nice long chat. And Dan is Executive Director of Partners for Community in Springfield. So they oversee a lot of nonprofit agencies and organizations in the greater Springfield area, one of them being Families Against Violence. And so Dan had asked me if he could come on the show and bring the director of that program onto the show to talk about what they do.
Yep.
And her name is Francina Brown. So Francina will be here a second hour. Dan was supposed to also be here second hour, kind of help, discussing Francina's program, but also discussing his new role as the head of the Medical Reserve Corps. and because that has happened over the last few
Somehow
weeks.
he got drafted into that deal.
Well, Pete, when I read the article in the Westfield News, and it was in the Westfield News, I believe, right just a few days after Christmas, Dan had mentioned that to me when we were at the Noble Ball. So that was at the beginning of November. So he had already been approached, was seriously thinking about it, and we kind of talked about, what, why that would be kind of a neat role for him. He was really, really excited and interested in it. So I wasn't surprised to read it in the paper, and so I wanted to bring him on. So I was going to have both of them on because Dan was going to talk about his new role for MRC, and Francine will talk about her program. I got a text from Dan last night saying he's very sick, not feeling well at all. So thank you. Keep your germs at home. But he said Francina will be here, and I think there may be someone else that she's bringing also from her program. Stay tuned. We'll see. But that should be second hour, so hopefully we'll be all set with that. So should be really interesting. And I have some good questions for Francina. So that's where we're going to head today. So a little bit off of what the original plan was, but not entirely. All right, it is 6:29. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So in honor of the birthday of Lula Mae Hardaway, well, I love the fact that she wrote some of these songs for Stevie Wonder because they're some of my favorite Stevie Wonder songs. So the first one that we're going to play for this 6:30 break is I Was Made to Love Her by Stevie Wonder. We'll be back.
Susie was in pigtails. I knew I loved her even then. You know my papa disapproved it. My mama booed it. But I told them time and time again. Don't you know I was made to love from a world all around her? Yeah, hey, hey, hey. She's been my inspiration. Showed appreciation for the love I gave her through the years. Like the sweet magnolia tree, my love blossomed tenderly. My life grew sweeter through the years. I know that my baby loved me. My baby needs me. That's why we made it through the years. I was made to love, worship and adore her. Hey, hey, hey. All through thick and thin, I love just won't end. 'Cause I love my baby, love my baby. My baby loves me, my baby needs me, and I know I ain't going nowhere. I was knee-high to a chicken, and I love was big me. I had the fever with it passing in. Oh, if the mountain tumbles, if this whole world crumbles, by her side I'll still be standing there. 'Cause I was made to love her, I was made to live for her. Yeah, hey, hey, hey. I was made to love her, build my world all around her. Hey, hey, hey. Ooh, baby, I was made to please her. You know Stevie ain't gonna leave her now.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:33. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
It is still very, very dark outside. I keep
Oh, yeah.
looking outside, and there's not a lot of activity going on here either. It's quiet. It feels very quiet today.
Oh, the chef is here. I know he's making
Yeah,
coffee,
I know. I
so-
saw one car pull in, but usually you're starting to see the custodians floating around, and it's just quiet. They're here, probably just busy in another part of the building. All right. So for all of you who still have Christmas trees, and I have to tell you, there are people like when I was driving in this morning. I'm driving by homes, and there are people with their trees still lit, inside the house, which is kind of fun to watch. But for those of you who are, taking down your Christmas tree, the city is hosting Christmas tree drop-off until January 23rd. So let me just give you a little bit of information about that. So first of all of the Christmas trees, the live Christmas trees, will be chipped and repurposed. So you have to make sure that all of your lights, your ornaments, and any debris has to be removed before you drop them off. And, I every year, it's like I feel like we take down the tree, and I think I have all the ornaments, and then, there's one that's tucked away or fell or whatever. So make sure you've got all the ornaments off. So the locations that are accepting drop-offs anytime, day or night, those are the ones we're going to focus on here, every day until January 23rd, so you still have a couple of weeks, are City Hall, which is 59 Court Street, in the back. You'll see a pile of trees in the back lot. You can drop it off there anytime, 24/7. Hampton Ponds Playground, which is 121 Old Stage Road, again, 24/7 until the 23rd of January, and the Little River Fire Station at 366 Little River Road in the back parking lot. So I like those locations because you're kind of like throughout the city. So, you have one over by Hampton Ponds heading up toward the north end, and you have the one downtown at City Hall, and then we have the one out at Little River Road. Trees will also be accepted at the DPW Highway Garage on 12 Ponders Hollow Road from 7 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Monday to Friday until January 23rd. And they can also be dropped off at the city transfer station, which is 37 Twist Street. No sticker is needed for tree drop-off, only Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 2:30 p.m., again, through the 23rd of January. So that's the magic date. It all ends on the 23rd of January. Now, Pete, I have something that we need to discuss with Joe Rouse when we see Joe Rouse in 2 weeks when he's on this show. Because when Joe was on the show last month, he talked about this new textile law in Massachusetts. So you are no longer allowed to throw textiles away. So things like old sheets and towels and blankets and clothing and all that.
I think is foolish, but okay.
Well, wait until you hear. So you're not allowed to throw those in the trash. You have to find some place that recycles them. So Joe had said to me, I think he had said to us, but he talked about it on air. There are a lot of clothing, but the bins that collect shoes and clothes, they're kind of all over the place. They're in Westfield, they're everywhere. But he said if you're looking for some place for like sheets, towels, blankets, things like that, the organization that collects those is called Planet Aid. So you have to drop it off at a Planet Aid box, So last year I had gotten, and I don't know where I got this from. It was through the city, but it came in through my city mail. And this was before the law was put in effect, but it was, textile drop-off places. So I thought this was really a cool idea. So I hung that on our bulletin board in the vestibule when you first walk into the senior center. And so I thought, oh, this is great. Okay, now it's law. For a variety of reasons that we won't go into, I'm once again packing and moving people and cleaning and sorting and organizing. So I have some bags of, and everything when you recycle this stuff, it's supposed to be clean. They don't want like dirty, moldy, bloody, stain, anything like that. They don't want any.
They don't want any nasties.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. So I take old sheets, old towels, all those kinds of things. Everything's washed, everything's dried, everything's folded and cleaned and in plastic bags and labeled cleaned for textile disposal. So I grabbed my list. I went to the senior center Sunday to grab my list because I said, okay, now I'll go drop it off at one of these Planet Aids. There were like 5 of them listed in Westfield. I drove all over the
Oh,
stinking
no, they
city.
took them all out because a
They're-
lot of places
They're
got,
all out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not one Planet 8. Now, there are places where you can drop off shoes and clothes. Those are.
So there were a couple
those are around.
places where they had them and didn't ask permission and got
Ah.
kicked out by the management of the plazas. Like Brixmore, I think, kicked them out
Okay.
because they just popped up there and they didn't ask permission.
Suddenly, yeah. So Westfield has 0 Planet Aid bins as far as I know. So then I went back to the senior center and went on my handy dandy computer and Googled, where they were. So Agawam supposedly had several. So I said, okay, so here I am, like doing my duty as a citizen
Oh, yeah,
and
it's
trying to be
insane.
responsible. So
But this is the insanity of it.
well, here's the thing. So I did find the bins that were listed through Planet Aid in Agawam were exactly where they were supposed to be, which was wonderful. So I now have 3 places in Agawam where I can take them. However, which is great, and I know that, but my bone to pick with Joe is Westfield has to get its act together because Westfield is way bigger than Agawam. And we need places, I mean, if they want us to be responsible about recycling towels and sheets and blankets and those kinds of things.
No, we need to talk
fine,
to
but-
John Velas and say, why did you pass a stupid law like that?
Yeah, I mean,
Seriously, with no infrastructure in place, why did you pass a feel-good
and
law?
that is my problem.
Yeah.
My problem is not, is this a good idea? It's a great idea. I love it. I think it's a wonderful idea. I'm all about recycling. But you've
there's
made it
nothing to back
virtually,
it up.
you've made it virtually impossible. I probably spent, well, first of all, I can tell you, time-wise, I spent over an hour on a Sunday, and gas-wise, I was all over Westfield. I was way the heck out on Russell Road, then and then I was way on wherever it is, Springfield Street and Agawam. I was just everywhere. And I mean, I finally got, and the only reason that I did that was because I know I'm going to have more because this is like a process that I'm doing here. So I'm going to have more stuff that I need to do. So I wanted to find someplace. But man, oh man, can we make this doable for people?
No.
Okay, that's my rant.
Welcome. This is what I try to tell people. I'm
Great
like,
idea.
yeah, wonderful idea. Who's going to pay for it?
Right. Exactly.
And now you've wasted how much money and time and everything else.
Oh my gosh. And first of all, I did everything I was supposed to do. Washed, dried. So think about that. So you're washing, you're drying, that's electricity. Oh yeah.
Water.
Time.
It's
Water, the whole
stupidity.
thing. It's crazy. So there's my thing. But anyway, if anybody wants to know where they are in Agawam, give me a call because I know. And you can Google it. Just if you Google Planet Aid, and it'll ask you for the zip code. And when I put in Westfield, it's 0. So then I said, okay, how about Greater Springfield? And so then I found the ones closest to my home. And then Grace went on and Googled, and she said she thinks there's also one in West Springfield on Memorial someplace. So I said, okay, well, it sounds good. So so that's that. So let's talk about the fact that today is National Milk Day. So January 11th, the first day that milk was delivered in bottles was on January 11th, 1878, and that is why today is National Milk Day. Each year on the anniversary of that day, people across the United States observe National Milk Day to celebrate America's #1 beverage. So, Pete, this is just for you. Here is some milk trivia that you can share with your family and friends because you're a trivia kind of guy. So the United States and Australia are the world's largest exporters of milk and milk products. Throughout the world, there are more than 6 billion consumers of milk and milk products. In the Middle Ages, milk was called the virtuous white liquor because alcoholic beverages were more reliable than water. In 1863, French chemist and biologist Louis Pasteur invented pasteurization, a method of killing harmful bacteria in beverages and food products. In 1884, American doctor Hervey Thatcher of New York City invented the first glass milk bottle called Thatcher's Common Sense Milk Jar, which was sealed with a waxed paper disc. Later, in 1932, plastic-coated paper milk cartons were introduced commercially as a consequence of their invention by Victor W. Ferris. The females of all mammal species can, by definition, produce milk, but cow milk dominates commercial production. It is estimated that 85% of all milk worldwide is produced from cows. Aside from cattle, many kinds of livestock produce milk used by humans for dairy products, and these animals include buffalo, goat, sheep, camel, donkey, horse, reindeer, and yak. Milk is processed into a variety of dairy products such as cream, butter, yogurt, ice cream, and cheese. So there's all your milk trivia on this January 11th, National Milk Day. Are you a milk drinker, Pete? Or do you like milk? No,
I was
you're not.
allergic when I was a little kid.
Oh, you were.
I probably grew out of it at some point, but I never developed taste for milk, so I don't drink milk.
So, what kind of allergic reaction? I'm always curious when people say I'm allergic to it. Was it like like digestion kind of thing?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I think with milk products that tends to be what people have a problem with.
Doesn't
if they have
bother
an
me
allergy.
now, but I don't drink. I don't like the taste of plain milk.
Yeah, but you eat ice cream. Do you have dairy products, cheeses and things like that? Yeah. Me too. As a kid, I was never big on milk. I chocolate milk, I loved it. So I guess there was like that little bit of a sweet thing kind of thing. But chocolate milk, I love milkshakes. Mm-hmm. Now it's kind of like depending on what I'm, if I have like chocolate chip cookies, like a glass of milk with that is really good. I love hot chocolate too. I'm a big hot chocolate, hot cocoa person, especially in New England in the winter. But but it's really interesting because I had friends that I grew up with who absolutely loved milk. I mean, I drank it because my mother said it's good for me and it builds strong bones and you have to have it with your meals. So I did, but never a huge fan. But I definitely love my dairy products. So, All right, it is 6:45. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. And I'm so excited that in honor of the birthday of Lula Mae Hardaway, mother of Stevie Wonder, and she wrote the song. It's probably my all-time favorite Stevie Wonder song. This is Signed, Sealed, Delivered. I'm Yours. We'll be back.
Like a fool, I went and stayed too long. I'm wondering if your love's still strong. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Then that time I went and said goodbye. Now I'm back and not ashamed to cry. Ooh, baby, here I am, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:48. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So today is the birthday of Vicki Peterson, singer, songwriter, guitarist, born on this date in 1958 in Los Angeles, California. She's 64 years old. In 1981, Vicki Peterson co-founded the hugely popular and successful all-female rock band, The Bangles, along with her younger sister, Debbie Peterson, Susanna Hoffs, and Annette Zelinskis. Hits included Eternal Flame, Walk Like an Egyptian, we all remember that one, and Manic Monday. After the Bangles broke up in 1989, Peterson formed the duo The Psycho Sisters with fellow singer, songwriter, musician Susan Cowsill. I had to look that one up because I thought, is that like the Susan Cowsill from the Cowsill family?
Probably, yeah.
And it was. So the Psycho Sisters were a well-received attraction at various Los Angeles clubs in the early 1990s. Peterson and Cowsill subsequently became members of the Los Angeles rock band The Continental Drifters in 1992. Vicki Peterson served as a substitute for a pregnant Charlotte Caffey as the guitarist for the Go-Go's during their 1994-1995 reunion tour. In 1999, Peterson rejoined the Bangles, and she has been married to husband John Cowsill, brother of Susan Cowsill of the Cowsill family fame, since 2003. So happy 64th birthday to Vicki Peterson. It's your last year before you go on to Medicare, so enjoy.
Oh, boy.
I know. It's all, this is how we relate to things when you work at the senior center, Pete.
I get it.
All right, and it is the birthday of the late Felix Silla, actor born on this date in 1937 in Roccasassali, Italy. He died at the age of 84 back just a couple years ago, April 16th, 2021. So Felix Silla trained as a circus performer and came to the United States in 1955 at the age of 18, touring with the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. His multiple talents as a bareback horse rider, trapeze artist, and tumbler brought him to Hollywood, where he became a stuntman, appearing in the film A Ticklish Affair. In part, because of his short stature, he was only 3 feet 11 inches. Silla often doubled for children in such movies as The Towering Inferno, The Hindenburg, and Battlestar Galactica. Between movies, he frequently appeared in Las Vegas and Reno, Nevada nightclubs with his own musical combo called the Original Harmonica Band. Silla became famous, however, this is how most of us will recognize him, as the recurring costumed character of Cousin It on television's The Addams Family. Remember Cousin It was like all hair with glasses?
Yep.
That was Felix Silla under all that hair. The character was introduced in the original black and white television series produced by David Levy, debuting in the 1965 first season episode Cousin It Visits the Addams Family, and then appearing in a total of 19 additional episodes. The character's voice was usually provided by studio sound engineer Anthony Magro. The character became so popular, it was carried over to subsequent licensed media, including film, stage, and video games. So happy birthday to the late Cousin It, Felix Silla. But I thought what was really cool about that was, first of all, how small he was. And, second of all, that he actually was a circus performer. I mean, it's kind of an interesting background. So happy birthday to Cousin It. Very cool. All right. So I wasn't here last week to tell you that the Voice of Experience is out, the January edition of the Senior Center Voice of Experience newsletter. So a little story about the edition this month. So it comes out on the last Saturday of the month. And this month, or in December, the last Saturday of the month, was New Year's Eve. It was December 31st, so the last possible day that the newsletter could come out. So Jim Corwin and I, because Jim does the layout from the paper, so Jim and I were on top of our game, knowing holidays and all that other good stuff, had the paper all ready, everything good to go. I sent him an email like the day before, okay, now I know Saturday is New Year's Eve, but I just want to make sure I'm going to have my newsletters. Yes, you will. So I go to the Senior Center bright and early on Saturday morning, and there they are. They're in my bin, and I said, oh, great. I get them all sorted, put them out in the bin, distribute them onto all my staff. I usually put them on their desk. Everything's all set. And what I usually do is I usually open to the middle section, which is the calendar section, okay? And I cut that out and I put it on my bulletin board, so it's easy reference. And I go to page 2 and I cut out the menu and the fitness schedule and I put that up on my bulletin board. Again, handy reference. And then I go to page 6. I have to take a different copy, and I go to page 6. And page 6 has the cable TV channel scheduling.
Yep.
So I, go to cut that out. Well, lo and behold, page 7, when I opened up to look at page 6, I looked at the page across from it, which was page 7, and it's the front page. So I went, wait a minute, do I have, I thought I had 2 newsletters that got stuck together. No, page 7 was printed again. It was page 1. So there was no page 7 and 2 page 1s. And so I thought to myself, please tell me it's just this one copy that's in my hand. And so I frantically, because they come in batches, they come in bundles, a bundle of 100 or 200, whatever it is. So I thought, okay, maybe it's just this bundle. So nope, all 1,500 newsletters. And the thing was, we had a lot of, information that we needed to get out on page 7. So here we are now on a holiday weekend, and I'm frantically emailing Fran Smith and Jim Corwin and all of my friends at the Republican saying, we have a misprint. We need all new Senior Center newsletters. So Fran was awesome, and he emailed me back right away, and they got on it right away. But Fran said, as you know, Pete, holiday weekend, we have a skeleton crew. So he said, we can reprint them, but it's not going to happen when I wanted it, which was by Tuesday morning. So we did get the newsletters, the revised newsletters on Wednesday night. And we had them out first thing Thursday morning. And I was able to get the correct copy up online on the city website over the holiday weekend. So at least we had that. And a lot of people are getting it, they're looking at them online or looking at it online.
Yep.
So anyway, that is the story of the January newsletter. But I just wanted everybody to know Jim and I did what we were supposed to do and had everything. And, mistakes happen. It was one of those, it was kind of a wonky mistake. And Jim was trying to explain it to me in tech terms. And I said to him, Jim, it's not important. Don't need the technology of why we have this little mistake, but we just have to fix it and move on. So that's what we're doing. So a couple of things in this newsletter that I want to draw your attention to. And the first and most important is that the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center are now doing, I think this is the 3rd year in a row that we are doing our annual February calendar. So we're selling raffle tickets for this. It's $5 for a sheet of raffle tickets. You get 25 raffle tickets. During the month of February, each day we will be drawing a winner. And for the most part, most of the prizes are a $25 gift card. So we have gift cards to Big Y, Rocky's, Giftology, Hash House Restaurant, Walmart, Walgreens, Two Rivers Burrito, North Elm Butcher, that's a bigger one, that's a $35 one. Pride Gas Card, Cumberland Farms, 99 Restaurant, Shortstop I think is in here somewhere. So we have lots of different prizes. So you have 28 opportunities to win. So these are kind of selling like hotcakes at the front desk of the senior center. Sandra has all the information, and really all you have to do is give us your name and your phone number. There's one master ticket that we keep with your name and phone number, and then the other 25 tickets we put into the bin. So we need to have the master one so that if you win, when you win, because of course everybody's going to win, we can match it to your name and your phone number. So I call somebody every day, and I said to Sandra, so here's what I was going by the front desk when Sandra was selling some raffle tickets last week, and I heard this woman say, "Oh, I never win anything." And so I stopped at the front desk and I said to her, "Okay, let me just tell you, I am the person."
That's absolutely true that I never win anything.
It's hysterical though, Pete. I said so for 2 years, I am the one that gets to call the winner every single day. So a different person. Well, actually, it may not be a different person. You can win more than once because you're throwing in 25 tickets. So we have had a couple people that have actually won more than once. But anyway, here's what's so funny. So I'll call people to say, "Oh, remember you bought these raffle tickets?" "Yeah." I said, "Well, you're the winner. You just won a, $25 gift card to whatever." And inevitably, the first, "Oh my God, I never win anything." Well, guess what? You just did. I heard that 28 times last year. I never win. And yet, you did. So anyway, at the front desk, we are selling these throughout the month of January. So you have until the end of the month, $5. Lots of great opportunities for winning. And we post it every day. We post it on my food cart so that the curbside people can see who won. And we also post it at the front desk. So everybody knows who the winner is. And that's always fun too, because people will see their friends. "Oh my gosh, my friend Susan won today," and that's kind of cool. So you know what? It's called Beating the Winter Blahs fundraiser. That's what we have called this fundraiser because what the heck else are you doing in January except being cold and it's dark. It's still dark outside. I mean, my God, hurry up. Let's get some light here.
Yeah, right.
So, okay. So that's that. Also, this month, we're excited. This is on the front page of the January newsletter. We are bringing back our in-person diabetes dialogue support group. That is facilitated by Jen Jafune. Pre-COVID, we had one support group meeting, and that was in February of 2020, and then COVID hit, and the rest of the story. And then Jen had a close member of her family that was being treated for a serious illness, so she was being very careful and not doing in-person anything. But she has now started to take her her clients in person, and we are going to go back to having our diabetes support group in person at the senior center. They will meet on the last Tuesday of every month from 1:30 to 2:30, and we've kind of cushioned that. So it's the formal part is 1:30 to 2:30, but with support groups, I always find that people kind of hang around and they talk to other people, and that's fine too. You can hang around and do that. So the first meeting will be January. Do I have the date in here somewhere? I can't find it. But anyway, it's the last Tuesday of January. So we're excited about that. And of course, and Jen will remain on this show. We're going to switch it up a little bit, and she has a different title. She has to remind me of what that is. So she will continue, and she'll be here next week. She'll continue on this show on the third Wednesday of the month. And instead of a diabetes focus, it'll just be on a general nutrition, healthy eating kind of focus. So we're very excited about that. I'm also excited and happy to announce that we have started a blood pressure clinic at Hampton Village up on the North End for all of our friends up there. So Evelyn Bristol, our nurse, that's a gift from the health department, is up there on the second Monday of the month at 11 o'clock in their community room. So all of you folks who live at Hampton Village, and there are a lot of you, you have the opportunity to meet with the nurse without having to come all the way down to the senior center, because we know it's a trip and some people don't drive. But you can go to the community center at Hampton Village on the second Monday of the month at 11 o'clock. Evelyn will do just exactly what she does at the senior center. She'll do blood pressure checks. She'll review medication with you if she needs to make a referral. If you just want something explained, like a medical diagnosis, or if you have a question, she's really great about all of those things. So there's that. We're going to take our top of the hour break, and then I have one more announcement to do about the AARP tax program, which is really important because we're getting a lot of questions about that. And then we will be bringing our guests in who have arrived. So you are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. It is 7:02. We'll be back.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:06. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So I promised that I had a few more announcements to do, and this one is a biggie. So let's talk a little bit about the AARP Tax Assistance Program 2023, because it is a biggie, and, you know, the phone lines opened last week, Pete. So we are doing this program the same way that we did it last year, and that is by the AARP guidelines. So it is there is no in-person tax assistance. It's done over the phone. It's a same-day drop-off pickup. So here's how this works so that we're all on the same page. So we now, thank you to Lenore Bernash over in IT and the IT team. So we have set up our tax assistance telephone line. So that's a specific separate phone line. So if you want to have your taxes done at the senior center, first of all, it's got to be a fairly simple return. So if you have mega bucks with all kinds of investments and so forth, our tax aid volunteers don't handle that. But if it's relatively simple, or if you're applying for the circuit breaker or something like that, we'll handle all of that. So what you do is you call the senior center and you say, I want to have my taxes done. I want to make an appointment. And we're going to tell you that we're going to put you through to the tax voicemail. And what you're going to do is leave a message, and all you have to do is leave your name, your telephone number, and your address. And by the way, when you leave your name, if it's a last name other than like Smith or Jones, could you spell it for me? Because that's really helpful. And you will get on the message, we'll tell you that you will get a call back within a 2-week period to set up your appointment. Now, I'm telling you that Mary, our clerk who's doing all the scheduling, is fabulous and has already scheduled, I think, 90 appointments. So, I mean, most people are getting a call back within a few days, but we do give ourselves that window only because if people, if my staff gets sick, it may take us a little longer. But anyway, you'll get that call back. We'll set up your appointment. And what we do is we set up the appointment just for the day. There's no specific time. So if your appointment is on a certain day, here's what you need to know. The entire tax filing process is going to necessitate 2 trips to the senior center, one first thing in the morning and one to pick up your return when it's done. And you have to be available by telephone for, in order to consult with the tax aide, because they're going to have some questions. They're going to need to clarify some information, and they're going to need to confirm some of the information that you give to them. So what we do is once the appointment is set, you can come down and we'll call you and say, okay, your tax documents, you're going to need to provide certain tax documents. So we're going to give you all the forms to tell you what you need. You can come down and pick those up at the senior center. And then on the day of your appointment, you're going to bring us all your tax documents. You have a 15-minute window in the morning. So you only have between 8:45 and 9 o'clock on that morning of your appointment to drop off your documents. Then I'm going to have 7 volunteer tax aides waiting in the wings to do your return. You do have to be available by phone throughout the day. And that's where, we tell people this 1,000 times, and I can't tell you how many times people drop off their documents and I'll say, okay, go home and be available, because I don't know when your return is going to be done. They may do yours one of the early ones. It may not be done until after lunch. I don't know. You have to be available. And people will say, oh, well, I have a doctor's appointment today, or, oh, well, I work. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You have to be available. And then at the end of the day, like usually around mid-afternoon usually, we'll call you and say, okay, your return is done. You have to come back and pick it up that same day, because you have to sign a form basically saying that it's been reviewed, and you do an in-person review with the tax aid volunteer when you come to pick it up. So you'll come into the senior center, they'll sit down with you, they'll go through it, even though they've gone through it with you over the phone, but now you're in person, you can kind of see what they did, and you sign off saying, okay, that's great. All the returns are done electronically, but they don't send it to the IRS until after you've come through and you've approved it and you've okayed it. So that's how the process works. It sounds more complicated than it is. Honestly, it's quite streamlined. It's a well-oiled machine. As I said, we've already set up almost 100 appointments right out of the gate. We only started taking calls a week ago. So if you are interested, the first step is call the senior center. Don't come down to the senior center. We're not doing it that way. Call the senior center. We'll put you through to the tax line, and that starts the whole process. So the number is 562-6435, which of course is in the newsletter, online, and I say it about 1,000 times a day. Okay, so that's that. And the other thing that I wanted to also mention before we take a break and bring our guest in is we are now offering technology support for seniors once again through the students at Westfield Technical Academy. And so if you are interested, if you got a new smartphone or a new laptop or a tablet or something like that for the holidays, and you don't know how to work it, or you don't know how to turn it on, or you can figure out how to turn it on, but you don't really know what you can do with it, these students are fabulous, and they will do one-on-one with you. So again, call the Senior Center. There is a set schedule. I think this month they're at the Senior Center tomorrow, and I know that we have some people signed up already, but give us a call. They're going to be coming once a month, and there are more than one student. We do it in pairs of students, so I think we have 2 or 3 pairs, so we can accommodate a fair number of people. Give us a call, 562-6435. And when you call in and say that you want to schedule an appointment with the technology students, just let us know. We're just going to ask you, like, what is it? Whether it's like I want help with my smartphone, or, I want help with, Googling or messaging or Zooming or whatever you need help with. And that just gives the students a little heads up on what they're going to be working with you on. All right, that sounds good. It is 7:12. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So because today is National Milk Day, we're going to listen to the Herman's Hermits group singing No Milk Today, and we'll be back with our guest.
No milk today, my love has gone away. The bottle stands forlorn, a symbol of the dawn. No milk today, it seems a common sight, but people passing by don't know the reason why. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigned as queen? No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turn night into day. But all that's left is a place dark and lonely. A terraced house in a mean street back of town becomes a shrine when I think of you only. Just to up, to down. No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turn night into day. As music played, the faster did we dance. We felt it both at once, the start of our romance. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigned as queen? No milk today, my love has gone away. The bottle stands for a symbol of the dawn. But all that's left is a place dark and lonely. A terraced house in a mean street back of town becomes a shrine when I think of you only. Just to up, to down. No milk today, my love has gone away. The bottle stands for a symbol of the dawn. No milk today, it seems a common sight, but people passing by don't know the reason why. How could they know just what this message means? The end of my hopes, the end of all my dreams. How could they know a palace there had been behind the door where my love reigned as queen? No milk today, it wasn't always so. The company was gay, we turned night into day. But all that's left is a place dark and lonely. A terraced house in a mean street back of town. All that's left is a place dark and lonely. A terraced house in a mean street back of town. All that's left is a place dark and lonely. A terraced house in a mean street back of town.
Underwriting for WSKB's community radio programming is brought to you in part by R. Levesque Associates. They are offering landscape architecture, civil engineering, environmental permitting, and land surveying. RLA is a second-generation company devoted to excellence in the planning and design of outdoor spaces. On the web at rlaland.com or at 40 School Street in Westfield.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:16. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with, of course, the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. And my guest this morning is Francina Brown, Executive Director of Families Against Violence. Welcome, Francina.
Thank you for having me.
I love your name. That's so pretty.
Thank
I have
you.
never heard it Francina. I had several friends who were Francines, but never Francina. I love that. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome, and we're happy to have you. We have an empty seat here. This is former Mayor Dan Knappich, and he could not be with us this morning. He was supposed to be. I mentioned that earlier, and Dan. I actually wanted Dan to talk about his new role as head of the Medical Reserve Corps. That's a volunteer position. Dan said to me, I texted him when I read it in the paper, and he said, everybody thinks I'm leaving my job with Partners for Community, and he said, no, this is just volunteer. But anyway, we'll have him on another day. So this is Francina. This is your day to talk all about just about your program. So what I typically like to do when I have a new guest that I don't know and my viewers and our listeners don't know is to just ask you to tell us a little bit about your background. Are you now I know you're working in Springfield. I mean, did you grow up in Springfield? Were you born here? Did you relocate? Are you a transplant from somebody? Where'd you come from?
I come from Boston, Massachusetts. That's where I was raised and graduated from high school in Boston, Jamaica Plain High School.
Okay.
So I end up, once I finished got my diploma, I end up trying to take a course to try to get a better education. So what I end up doing is moving to Springfield and find myself going to Springfield Technical Community College after I graduated.
Wonderful. So now what did you study when you were at STIC?
Executive, business.
Okay.
So that was basically, I just wanted to be in business, like being secretary, always wanted to work in the court because I love to be around people. So that's what it was always people for me.
So now when you graduated from STIC, what was your first job? Where did you land that first special job?
I did the courses, but I ended up didn't follow into my major in. So what I worked at the school at STIC. What was I doing? I worked at the library, and I also worked in the kitchen. So just doing a little of that.
Yeah,
that was basically
absolutely.
it. I loved it.
Yeah, well, yeah. You know what? There are a lot of people who end up staying at where they went to college, and I have to admit, if I had that opportunity, I would have grabbed it in a heartbeat. Because I think so many of us really appreciated the college experience. It's like, okay, I don't really want this to end, even though now I have the degree, but I don't want to go. I don't want to leave. So
schooling was not for me. The schooling because I love the school and I love to learn. Mm-hmm. So that's what was really getting it for me.
Okay. All right. So somewhere along the line, how did you begin to transition to what you're doing now? Because this is a far cry from the kitchen at STIC and the library at STIC.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what your work transition was all about. How did that happen?
Okay. After I stayed and went to school and finished school, I ended up wanting to have a family.
Okay.
And my family, because growing up with a strict mom and no dad in the house because my dad lived in North Carolina. So I ended up wanted to be around family. So I wanted a big family. And I ended up, when I came to Springfield, met my husband.
Okay.
And we end up having children.
Okay.
When I was still going to STIC, but because I was still continuing on going to college, so I had to resign because of the simple fact I had to take care. By me being a young mother,
sure,
I had to end up resigning from school to take care of my son.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and end up I end up not having one but having two.
Okay.
And the family continue on growing.
Yep.
So and then as my sons got older, my children got older. In 2006, I end up In June 12, 2006, my first son was murdered.
Oh my goodness, I'm so
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
And how old was your son at that time, Francina?
He was 18.
And can you talk a little bit about what happened?
At the time, when I was told that my son, he was kind of like the homebody person. So he was out with his, wanted to hang out with his girlfriend, but at the time the girlfriend wanted to go out with her friends, and he ended up going out with his friends because of the change of the activity that him and his girlfriend was supposed to have.
Yep.
And so it ended up he went to a graduation party. And as we got to the graduation party, some guys was having a disagreement. And end up so my son was like, let's go. And they end up leaving, and then the boys was following them.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And end up they shot through the car, and my son was the one that got it.
Now, was there anybody else hurt or killed, or was it just your son?
It was just my son.
And was he was he targeted, or was it just kind of like this was just kind of anger and somebody was going to get hurt and it happened to be your son, or is that kind of your understanding of what happened?
My understanding was that another young man and the other young man had a disagreement.
Yeah.
And my son was like basically trying to, tell his friends, let's go, let's leave from this scene. I don't come out here that much, but man, it's me coming out. This is why I don't come out, because in fact I don't like to get in confrontations and arguments and things like that. So he ended up, trying to grab his friends into the car, and they end up getting into the car, and someone said duck, because someone had a gun, and end up my son said, I'm not going to duck because I didn't do anything to them. So and he was the one that got it.
Oh my goodness. So kind of wrong place, wrong time, trying to be the mediator and sort of calm everyone down. It's like, let's just remove ourselves from the situation. I mean, it sounds like in this circumstance, he did everything right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He tried to do everything right. Not, he wasn't part of the escalation or anything, trying to, cooler heads prevail, and ended up really, I can't even imagine. How did you find out about this? I mean, how were you told? Did the police show up on your doorstep, or did you get a phone call? Or?
Yes. My oldest son had called me and said, Mom, come down to the hospital. Tyrell's been shot. I was like, is he okay? No, Mom. I said, no. He said, Mom, just get here.
So this was your younger son that was killed?
At the time, he's next to the oldest.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
He was next to the oldest.
Okay.
And then he called me to let me know that to come down to the hospital, and I panicked. I was like, because I was like kind of confused and like in shock or in disbelief, and I really didn't know what to do. So I was like walking back and forth. What do I do? So until I had to like get a hold to myself and let me go to the hospital, or thinking, am I dreaming? Is this a dream? Or, let me wake myself up, to what the phone call that I just received. And when I got I don't remember getting to the hospital. The only thing I remember is, me standing there in front of my son. That was what I remembered.
Yeah. You know what? Is this a sort of a scenario that you had ever played out in your head, that something like this could happen? I kind of feel, I think a lot of parents are like, think, oh my gosh, my child could be in a car accident. Your kids learn to drive, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, are they safe? Or they're in high school. Are they getting involved in stuff they shouldn't be getting involved with? I mean, I've never been there. I mean, I've had issues with my daughter, but obviously never anything to this extent. And I don't know how. I think I would have done the same thing. I don't think I would have remembered sort of the trip to the hospital, because I think what happens is, from a psychological point of view, your body, sort of your brain kind of takes over. I've done a lot of work with folks with terminal illness.
Yes.
And when somebody gets a diagnosis, or a terminal diagnosis, oftentimes, we talk about denial, but it's not really so much denial. It's that the body is kind of like your brain saying, I can't process all this right now. This is way too much.
Right.
And so it has to kind of seep in almost a little at a time. And I'm really feel, as you were telling that story, Francina, I kind of felt like it's that sort of a situation where you get this phone call or someone shows up on your doorstep and says this happens, and your brain is like, okay, I can't go there right now. You know, I just this is, and I absolutely believe, because I've been in those situations where you think, am I dreaming this? Am I going to wake up and everything's okay? I'm going to be in a cold sweat, but it's okay.
Right.
And in fact, that was not what happened.
No, that's not what happened. And that's the devastation, and just to go down there and to look at your son laying there with tubes and things, you know, in his mouth, and just, you know, telling him to pull through, you know, and just the prayers, you know, just the praying, you know, to say, you know, God, you know, he's not a bad kid.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you know, and no run-ins with the police or no kind of, you know, it was just to the point that he wanted to hang out, you know, going to a graduation party, and it wasn't like a club, or it wasn't like hanging out with a whole bunch of friends. It was to the point, it was a graduation party. Someone graduated, and they had their party at this place.
Yep.
And that's where it
and that's where it all kind of happened and went down.
All
right. I think this is a lot for people, I think, to take in. I mean, I think people are really kind of feeling. And what year did this happen, Francina, just to put it in a chronological perspective?
This happened June 12, 2006.
2006. Okay. All right. It is, if you're just joining me, my guest this morning is Francina Brown. She is the Executive Director of Families Against Violence, which we have not really gotten into that yet, and into the organization. But I think it was really important to set the stage, because I think now all of us have a greater understanding and appreciation for why you are the executive director of this program. So we're going to get into a little bit about how you or whoever started this program, and sort of what the transition was. But I just want to say, Francina, before we take a break, thank you for sharing that very, deeply personal, obviously really emotional story. And it's one of those things where it happened 2006. That was, years ago, but I think that's just one of those things where it's there forever. It's in your heart forever. And I'm sure retelling it is as difficult today as it was, 10 years ago. So thank you for, being kind of vulnerable and opening yourself up. But it does put a context in it for our listeners and our viewers that will be able to have an appreciation for the work that you're doing now. So let's let everybody take a little bit of a breath and a break. You are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. Again, my guest is Francina Brown, Director of Families Against Violence. And we are going to listen to, in honor of the birthday of Naomi Judd, we're going to listen to the Judds singing Rockin' to the Rhythm of the Rain. We'll be back.
Sitting in the porch swing, listening to the light rain beating on the tin roof, baby, just me and you, rocking with the rhythm of the rain. Slide on over, baby, hold me closer, moving to and fro, just swaying like a slow freight train, rocking with the rhythm of the rain. So let the breeze, rocking with the rhythm of the rain, that's a falling. just me and you, rocking with the rhythm of the rain. Slide on over, baby, hold me closer, moving to and fro, just swaying like a slow freight train, rocking with the rhythm of the rain. Let the breeze rocking with the rhythm of the rain. It's falling, birds are singing, crickets are calling. Oh, my heart will never be the same. Keep the sweet spirit in the air, baby, feels so fine. Nights like this come once in a lifetime. Hey, my baby, rocking with the rhythm of the rain. Hey, my baby, rocking with the rhythm of the rain.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:33. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with Francina Brown. Francina is the Executive Director of Families Against Violence and has just shared a very personal story about the murder of her son Terrell back in 2006. And just when you thought it couldn't get much more emotional, Francina shared with me off air that she, within the last year, lost another son to violence. Yes, and is here to share that story as well. So, Francina, what happened in 2022? Just about a year, not quite a year ago. It'll be a year in February.
Yes, just February 2022, February 6th, 2022, my oldest son, Keyshawn, was also murdered last year. Well, not a year yet.
Okay.
But 2022, he was murdered as well.
And what were the circumstances of that, Francina?
He moved to Delaware. My son had moved to Delaware. He was a coach, basketball coach for Expressions. So he coaches youth.
Okay.
And tried to get youth out off the streets. And so what he did was, advocated for a lot of kids that wanted to better themselves. And so he moved to Delaware to get his personal relationship together to move on and start a better life. And so he went to Delaware and moved down there and got with the young lady, and basically somehow my son was set up to be killed.
Oh my goodness! And again, the phone call person at the door. How did you find out about that?
The girlfriend at the time was the one that called me and said around like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and called me and said, Francine, just let you know that your son Keyshawn has been shot. I said, okay, is it okay? Oh, he has a pulse, but they're working on him. So I said, okay, let me know what's going on. And again, waking up from out of my sleep, again, in disbelief, shock, to hear a devastating phone call from a girlfriend,
Yeah. Well, first of all, when your phone's ringing at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, it's never going to be good.
No.
We know that it's never going to be good. But you just I don't know. I don't even know what to say. You must have just felt like this can't be happening again.
Right.
Because I think that's the only place my brain would go. It's like I can't be doing this again. I can't be reliving this.
That's right.
For a second time.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I was feeling like I'm reliving this again. So again, in disbelief. So the first thing that I'm getting, like, who is with him? Who is with them? Let me hurry up and get to him. So from Springfield to Delaware, it's not like right around the corner.
Right.
So it's basically you have to drive like 3 or 4 hours to get there. So, and I'm trying to call his phone and to help, hold on, I'm on my way. And it's like maybe he's just asking for me, to hurry up, mom,
Sure.
So, and when I, as I was driving, my daughters was with me, and as they were driving me down to Delaware, it's like, as we got past Hartford, the girlfriend called again and said he didn't make it. So that was the most unbearable news that I could ever get, especially driving on the highway. I was riding in high on.
Yeah.
So that was just the most devastating news, and it was like, who's with them? Where is he? So as I got down there to the hospital, and we couldn't see him because he wasn't identified. So, but by me coming down there, I had to basically, he had his ID and stuff on him. So, but I had to basically identify who he was.
So you had to do the identification.
Yes.
What was that like, Francina?
I was like, this is a dream. This is not, maybe it's a dream, and I'm just getting this to some warning signs to saying that something's gonna happen or whatever the case may be, or I always believed in that, like, okay, it's just a dream, and end up it was
real.
Yeah. I was out of it. I was really numb.
Yeah.
Really numb.
So, Francina, let's transition to the work that you're doing with families against violence, because I think now you have absolutely set that foundation and put this in context for all of us. So tell us about the organization. When did it start? Who started it?
Okay.
And sort of what are the goals? I mean, were you already doing this before your second son was killed, or did this start within the last year? So let's talk a little bit about the group.
Okay, when my first son was murdered in 2006, I met with a young lady and her husband, the Shalon Brown and Dewan Brown. I met with them, and they came to my home and was trying to assist me with some services. And I said, okay, and they were telling me that there was a program called the Awake program.
Okay.
And it was in the Awake program. This stands for Alive with Awareness, Knowledge, and Empowerment. So I didn't understand at the time because I was still numbed at the time. So there was another mom that I recognized because her sons used to be at my house, and they were two twins, and they was murdered. So
both of them?
The two twins was murdered. And so when my son had got murdered, she came to my house. When her son was murdered, I didn't know anything about a program or advocating. Only thing I wanted to do, because I knew her sons, is to be there for support for her.
Yep.
And that's what I did. I was there for support for her. So then when the incident happened with me, the first person that I saw was her when she walked in my door. And that was like, oh my God, and I just broke down and just like was really, really.
Because it's like, we've been through this scenario, but the shoe is on the other foot now.
Yes. So with the Wake, they started this program where they were supporting families. They had other families that had also lost their loved ones to gun violence. So we got with them, and And that's when they end up, they stayed with the program for a while. Then the name of the program was Mothers on a Mission.
Okay.
And that's where we supported mothers who lost loved ones. And then as time went on, we got into another organization. It was called Families on a Mission.
Okay.
Because there was not just mothers, but it was
Sure.
also fathers
Yeah.
that was also grieving and going through the pain of losing their loved ones through gun violence. And so once we got through that, and then as time went on, and that's when I left because it was so overwhelming, because I was doing a lot of advocating for families where I would go to their house and I would speak with them and I would, guide them through the process with their funeral and the services. And once I was guiding them through that, it was like more overwhelming, because the more and more I was doing it, the more and more, because it was like murder after murder after murder after murder.
Yeah.
So, and I ended up moving back to Boston. I had to get away.
Yeah.
And as I moved to Boston, it hit me there as well, because there was another lady, her son, he was a semi-pro football player, Odin Lloyd. I don't know if you remember.
I recognize the name.
And he was murdered, and I advocated and supported the mom, Miss Ursula Ward, with the losing of her son, that was also murdered. And so again, I was not only advocating for her, but there was another lady that I worked with at K&G's when I was working at K&G's. Her son had committed suicide. So, and after that, then her other son had committed suicide. So it's like I'm dealing with families still in trying to give them the services and the support and the help that they needed. So even though I had no recognition of what to do, but I had to get on the phone and call the city, what services do you have for families that are losing loved ones? And then I looked there, so, okay, this service is available, that service is available, and then we're to the point I end up finding out about victims' compensation, where that they support families who lost loved ones through violence, where they will help and pay for the funeral if someone is murdered in their city.
You know what's really interesting, Francine, about this story? As you're talking, you moved from Springfield back to Boston to kind of get away. And I think sadly the reality is there is no getting away.
No.
It is just out there.
Yeah.
And I think one of the points that you kind of illustrated just through the example is it is everywhere. I think that's why it is so scary. And I can't imagine doing what you have been doing when, it's one thing to be sort of the helper when you haven't. I feel like this must reopen your own wounds, like every time you're working with a family. On the one hand, it's like, it should be somebody else helping because they haven't gone through this pain.
Right.
But on the other hand, it should be you because you get it.
Yes.
And I mean, we talk about that. I run support groups, and it was funny because in my own work, I work with older adults. And now that I'm actually on Medicare, I'm credible among my clients because it's like, well, now she understands. And now I really do understand.
Yes.
And, back when I was in my 20s, what the heck did I know? You're there. You have been there twice.
Yes.
So you get it. Like, you understand the pain. You understand the other families that you're working with who are saying, okay, this is a dream, and I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna come out of this because I mean, and I think too, mothers, fathers, siblings. I mean, it's not like it doesn't affect the siblings, and others, aunts and uncles and cousins and friends and neighbors, and it's just everywhere.
Yes.
So obviously at some point you returned to the Springfield area from Boston. So how did that happen?
I ended up because my mom had was diagnosed with dementia.
Okay.
And I stayed up there and took care of her until she passed.
And that was in the Boston area?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, and then eventually, it's like, okay, I took care of my mom. So then my kids needed me back here because I still had my other kids here, and they were still a little young, but, they was old enough. They was all grown, but they needed me here. So, and I ended up moving back here. And then as I moved back, still murders and stuff, it was happening. And then as they, when murders happened, I would end up going to the hospital because I was trauma response trained.
Okay.
Going to the hospital, support the families and give them what they need and give them the support that they pretty much needed. So I end up, I say, and there wasn't no organization structured then until, I say, you know what, let me grab some of these families together and just put something together. And as I called, some of the mothers that I did know, though I came in contact with, and I said, let's put this organization together. And that's when we end up in 2019.
Okay.
And that's where I met with some mothers, and then I also met with my pastor, the Archbishop Timothy Paul. I met with him, and so he helped us structure the organization together. And that's where we called it Families Against Violence.
FAV?
FAV.
I was going to say, is it FAV or FAV? I didn't know how you were
FAV.
pronouncing it. Well, it's interesting that you were talking about your pastor, because as you were, sharing those really just, chilling stories of your own experiences with murder, I thought to myself, are you, where are you in your faith? And that's a very personal question to ask but I don't know whether it's one of those things where you have to hang on to your faith because that's all you have, or whether it's like you lose your faith because it's like, what kind of, how can this happen? So what was that a journey for you? I mean, what was that like?
What that like was because at first when my first son was murdered, it's like I just because I was so much into church, because I have faith and I believe in God and I always believed in miracles. I always believed that God they'll never leave you nor forsake you. And I always have a strong belief because I was raised in church all my life. And then once that happened to me, I kind of like lost it. I said, God, you said you would never leave us nor forsake us. Lord, you said you would be there for us even into the end of the world. Yeah. But I didn't know that I would have to go through some things in order for me to get where I need to get to. And it's like God said, I'm going to take you through some things, but through the things that I'm going to take you through, it's going to help other people. And I'm like, why? And I'm like, I didn't understand it at the time, what it meant until I went through what I went through, my trauma. My losing my sons. And then once I went through that, then I was like, okay, and then it was so natural for me to go and support a family. It was like, and people were asking me, how would you go up to a family and just, can come up and give them support and help them with their funerals and help them with their, until they're going through it in the beginning until they continue on going and at the end. How do you just come up and talk to a family? I said, I don't know. It's just maybe just God has just given me that, and then it's just coming natural for me.
Yeah.
So but once I got the hang of it, and I think once God said, okay, I'm bringing it, but then I came back to my faith and said, okay, God, I see what you're saying now. So, and then the more and more I was into God and just, spending that time and praying, and it's like more and more was coming. God said, this is your passion.
Yeah.
This is you.
Yeah, this is your path.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are going to go through some things, and you're going to be the one that's going to help them get through it. I was like, huh? No way. Wow. And nobody expect for their child to get murdered. Yeah. We don't expect that, or our child to pass away, because we always say that we want our kids to bury us, not us burying our children.
Yeah.
And that's where when it came to me that, and then to deal with the other families that's going through the same thing, what they're going through now. But, yes, God has always been in my life.
Yeah.
And, taking me through what I'm going through is nothing but the grace of God to help. Because I could have been in an institution. I could have been,
absolutely. Absolutely. You could have taken a really different path,
or going through substance abuse, some kind of substance abuse.
And people would have said, wow, that's understandable.
Yes.
I mean, you would have gotten a pass on that.
Yes.
So you know what I mean.
Yes.
All right. If you're just joining us, my guest this morning is Francina Brown. She's the executive director of Families Against Violence, or FAV, F-A-V, And Francina, so you formed this group with some other parents who had been through similar experiences, and with support, I guess, from your pastor.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how does the organization operate now? Do you have like an office? Is everybody kind of working out of their home, or how does that work?
Yes. So right now, we was blessed that the city has blessed our organization with some funds. And the funds is quite a bit.
Good.
Excellent. So
and that's the city of Springfield.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, have $500,000. So
wonderful.
we was definitely blessed with that. So we end up getting a building with we partners with Partners for Community.
Yeah.
Where they gave us end up giving us office where we end up having 2 big, huge rooms and 3 offices. And we also have a counselor, a grieving counselor as well, and outreach workers and a family advocate and a program manager.
Wow. So how many staff people do you have at this point?
5.
Sounds like That's awesome.
Yes.
Wow. Oh,
Yes.
you must be kind of beside yourself with that's a nice little staff that you got going there.
It came quick, and I'm still in like, is this real? Is this real? It's like,
this is a good dream, though.
Yes,
Nancy.
yes,
This
yes.
is not like the other. This is a good dream. It's like, wow.
Yes, it was a good dream, and I was like, is this real? And when it came, said, well, I have some. My pastor came. He said, I have something for you. He said, I need you to meet me at 32 Hamden Street. I said, okay. So I met him down there, and he said, let me show you something. I said, okay. So we went, because he has also a business like across the hall.
Okay.
So he came and showed me the office. He said, he showed me the different rooms. He said, do you like this? I said, yes. He said, it's yours. I said, no way. He said, this is yours. He said, this is for FAV. This is for Families Against Violence organization.
That's amazing.
And
how long ago was that? When did that happen?
This was last year.
Okay.
This was 2022.
Amazing.
Yes, this was last year. So I was like really shocked and then had to visualize that how we want to set this up.
Yeah.
Where to the point that we want to make sure that families getting the services and what's been in my dream and what I want out of to helping families. What do I want to do to help families? How can I go about, and what kind of service can I bring to families who have lost loved ones to violence, sudden death, suicide, domestic, even also COVID? How can I be a help to my community? So, and that's when I set it up where we have a conference room where we have support meetings every 2 weeks now. Now we have a Zen room where that families that are, that feel that they need to get away from society.
Yes,
and just vent and just like it's a quiet room where we have meditation music, where you can just sit there on the couch and it's all set up like a living room and it's just peaceful. And that's where our families they come and just to relax. Like, I just need this peace. I just need it.
Yeah, that's perfect. We have a room in our house, and we call it the Serenity Room.
Nice.
And it is the same kind of thing.
Wow.
And when my daughter was young, she was giving a tour to one of her friends when we first moved in, and my husband and I were in there reading, and she brought her friend in, and she said, and this is the Serenity Room. She was about 10 at the time. She goes, this is the Serenity Room. There's no fighting in this room.
Yes.
It was, and we've called it this, and I think at the time she thought everybody had one.
Yeah.
And we just kind of, I don't know, it just kind of got that name, but I love that idea. So we just have a couple of minutes, Francina. So the goals of FAV at this point, Families Against Violence, are what is your mission? And that's hard. Because I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking, when you were saying what do these families need, and my guess is that it's going to be different for different families. I mean, they have different makeups and there are different circumstances as to how they lost loved ones. So how do you kind of figure that out? Like, this family needs this, but this family needs that. Is that kind of how you're doing it?
Yes. So we basically do an intake, and we find out, and I sit there and talk with them, or the program manager or the family advocate would sit down. We would, talk with them and see what their needs are. If they lost a loved one, if they needs where they need the services to help with their funeral.
Okay.
We sit there and we provide the services for them. And if we don't have the services, we will call to see what kind of resources are out there to provide the services for them.
Okay.
And what I do also is like families that need furniture.
Yeah.
I do have connection with Bob Discount Furniture, so I do help and apply for Bob's card for them.
Okay.
If they need food, I make sure that I give them a gift card to help them and if they need further services far as with food, and then we'll connect it and collaborate with the other organizations where they help, to get them food.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, depending on the person who was lost, I mean, it could have been the breadwinner, so it could be there are financial issues.
Yes.
It could be just emotional issues or parenting
Yes.
issues. I in my head, and of course, because you've lost 2 sons, I'm thinking men, but we lose women as well.
Yes.
What if it's a mom with young children or whatever? So different needs. So your organization is there to help people to sort out what is needed and then help to connect them with the resources that are available. Do I have that right? I'm trying to process everything.
Yes.
This is a lot. This is a lot to process. This is a huge undertaking, Francina. I'm in awe at what you have accomplished and under the circumstances that you've done this.
Yes.
This is amazing. And it sounds like you've managed to partner with some other families that also are pretty amazing people that are able to, I think, get beyond your own pain to help other people in the community, to have an appreciation for what other people are going through and kind of figure out like, what can we do to help that person? You're amazing.
Yeah, and that is one of our slogans is turning pain into purpose. Our thing is turning people's pain into a purpose, turning something positive, turning their pain into something positive. So it doesn't matter if they lost a loved one through violence. If it's sudden death, the situations may be different, but the pain is still the same. So that's where we support everyone. We support those that need it. So if someone needs to talk, because 9 times out of 10, if someone is going through something with suddenly, 9 times out of 10, if they don't get the support and the services and the help that they need or they get, 9 times out of 10, it's going to turn into something violent.
Yes. Yeah.
Or some kind of substance abuse, or some kind of if it's alcohol, or if it's some kind of drug, it's going to turn violent. So that's where we have the support meetings. We have a grief mental health counselor on site for Families Against Violence. So if anyone comes through that needs the services, they can come through and get the counseling for free.
Francina Brown, I am honored and humbled that you joined me this morning. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your personal story. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I would love to have you come back maybe in 6 months or so, kind of give us an update, because this is all exciting news on what your program is doing. So this is Francina Brown. She's the Executive Director of Families Against Violence, or FAV, located in Springfield. And I promise the viewers we will get you back and we'll get an update and see how we can help.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You are listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I will see you next week.